Welcome to the Autoimmune Babe podcast. Today, we have someone not only special, but for the second time, which I love and really enjoyed the first time Megan was on here. Megan is a client of mine who actually just graduated from Road to Remission. We've been working together for a year. And today we're going to be really talking about such a beautiful part of healing that isn't talked about enough. And so if you are someone who has a connective tissue condition, an autoimmune disease, and you're looking to start a healing journey, this episode is for you and you are in for a treat. Hi, Megan. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Just so people know who you are and like let's say if they're listening in for the first time, who are you? And what really brought you into this space of healing your autoimmune disease or starting really a healing journey?
Yeah. So Megan, I have lupus. I was diagnosed 25 years ago. We just passed my diagnosis anniversary in May. I celebrated that and I started working with you last year because I was kind of at the end of my rope and had gone through so many different types of attempts at healing that just did not work for me. Um, I have multiple overlapping autoimmune conditions, and so it was kind of like stepping into a minefield every morning, waking up trying to figure out how I'm going to feel, how I need to budget my time, and I really got sick of it.
Yeah.
I realized that this isn't something that I can do on my own, and I needed someone to kind of bridge that gap between what I was dealing with and what goes on in the doctor's office because that is so infrequent and you don't always get the kind of attention that you need. And I
Yeah.
found you, and it's
Yeah.
been an amazing experience for the last year. I can't believe it's been a year and it's been a
I
wild
know.
ride.
It has. It has. And we're going to be highlighting some of that wild
Mhm.
ride together today. And gosh, it's been such a joy just being in your corner. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the beginning,
Mhm.
back to May of 2024 when you first joined Road to Remission. And something that we do right at the beginning is really diving into your symptoms and then your personal experience with those symptoms, right? Because
Mhm.
autoimmune disease is unique from person to person. And I feel like, especially with connective tissue disease, with lupus, right, rheumatoid arthritis, that is even more so that uniqueness of
Right.
symptom experience and then severity. And so, one of the questions that I asked you was like, if you could wave a magic wand, what is one thing that you would want to experience that would make Road to Remission worth it? It's like worth its weight in gold. And your answer will live with me for the rest of my life because not only was it such a beautiful response, but I deeply resonated with your response as someone who navigated autoimmune disease as well. And your response was, I want to get my sparkle back. And so, can you just highlight and really lift the veil for us, really quick? What did that mean to you at the time? And why was this such a big deal?
I think a lot of people relate to that sentiment too, that are like us in the chronic illness community because, it's the saying of don't let anyone dim your sparkle, right? And what I kept thinking about was I don't have anyone in my life that dims my sparkle except for me and this
Yeah.
disease that I'm carrying. And I had gone to the point where I realized I was just living in this like grayscale kind of universe. I was highly functioning. I was working. I was in, my relationships. I was putting in all the effort, a dog mom, living, family, all the connections, all the things on the surface that were great. But it was like I was just not actually experiencing it. I was just in a survival mode. I was numb. It was just take your medication every day, try to get some movement in, drink some water, but there wasn't anything changing. And I lost a part of myself that I knew was still in there, but I just didn't recognize myself anymore. And it was really sad. And it was kind
Yeah.
of an awakening.
100%.
Hmm.
I think that this is such a common experience. Not a lot of
I,
people like to talk about it
I do
because
too.
it's depressing. It's
Mhm.
really sad. It's tragic because you're
Mhm.
fighting tooth and nail, right? To get those brief moments of feeling like yourself, but you had lupus for 20 years when we started working together. And like, I know that, with me, I was, battling scleroderma for 12. When
Sure.
you start hitting the 7-year mark, you start really forgetting who you were before the illness.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that version of you, she's still in there, but she becomes a distant memory. And the fact that this was your goal showed me that you're like, I still am holding on to her.
Mhm.
And what a powerful thing to proclaim out loud.
Mhm.
And you did get your sparkle back and you got so much more. And so we're gonna like fast forward to the end here
Yeah.
because you just had your offboarding session last month. I think it's like maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was just not
And
that long ago.
no, not that long ago at all. And we were talking about how you started this journey wanting your sparkle back. You wanted a
Mhm.
single star, and what you got was a galaxy.
I think I called
And
it like a Lisa Frank world wrapped with dolphins and unicorns, like a trapper
yes,
keeper, like something, the millennials
the
listening will
millennials get
get it.
it.
Yes. Like I,
Yes.
I was over it and I was sick of myself being stuck. So yeah.
Yes. And I want you to just highlight what this looks like to you and how this has changed your life as an autoimmune warrior.
My gosh. I mean, I I realized that there were more options than, medication and eating right.
Yeah.
And we all, I always talk about how insane it was to me to not have the internet and the resources that we have now just, 20 years ago. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but I didn't have things like that. I remember going to one support group once and it scared the crap out of me because everyone was so sad and looked miserable and was talking about like really morbid stuff. And
Mhm.
that was the extent of support that I was finding. So it's just given me sort of this stepping out of my comfort zone where I wasn't doing that before. And I've
Mhm.
never realized that I was missing out on these things because I just thought I was existing in this body that I had to tend to day to day. And so I was so focused on that I was missing out on like experiences and pushing myself outside of boundaries and trying new things, like I started posting on TikTok only in January and really like diving into my story, after, it came back. And
Yeah.
I never would have done that. I never would have had the confidence to do that and talk about what I'm going through and my experiences. And it's so
Yes.
freeing and the community level is so just beautiful because you're experiencing and shared experiences with other women and some men too. But
Yeah.
this has changed dramatically for me, and I'm able to talk about it with my friends and family and colleagues more than I was ever before. And I thought I was before. I thought I was an
Mhm.
open book. But the
Yeah.
way that I can speak about my disease, my lupus, my everything that's going on is so much more intentional and I can advocate for myself when I have to. And it
Yeah.
just it's a freeing feeling when you transform this mindset from kind of that sick girl mindset where I'm always going to be stuck in that to okay, well, this is part of my life, but it's not taking over my life.
Yes. You mentioned so many aspects of this that I think it's very much a part of the autoimmune experience. One is, kind of being like, okay, is medication my only option here? And really utilizing medication as a resource, not as a sole solution, and leveraging that so that you can have more of this freedom and intention, and the goal is really living more of a fulfilling life, which is very much what you have experienced over the last year, despite there still being symptoms. And we're going to dive into
Sure.
that in a little
Yeah.
bit. And then there's also this aspect of community and what kind of a community that you're a part of. There is tragedy happening on every single level within those communities. And I think that there is a benefit to understanding people's stories.
Of course.
And if they all are doom and gloom, if they're all devastation, how helpful really is it?
Just
And
feed
how
off of it. You feed off of
100%.
everything. Yeah.
You feel like you have not only a life sentence, but like a death sentence. And so
Mm-hmm.
you're going to function out of that. And
Mm-hmm.
so, especially when you're talking about, again, connective tissue conditions where there's really not a lot out there, even if we're looking at research, being like, there are ways that you can fight for your health so that you can have like a good quality of life while also tending to the very real symptoms that this condition will bring. And
Mm-hmm.
so the fact that you can advocate for yourself and the fact that you can communicate more clearly and the fact that you can show up in your personal and professional relationships with more confidence
Mm-hmm.
shows this shift that's like happened within
Absolutely.
you. These
Mm-hmm.
diseases cling on to your identity and they make you feel broken and weak. And so this shift is
Mm-hmm.
quite literally a manifestation of your confidence of
Well,
being
and
like,
it
I'm doing
shrinks
this.
it shrinks your world too. It
Yes,
not even just you, but it shrinks your world. And because you're afraid of tipping the scale too much and being, doing one thing that's going to set you back for days and you don't
exactly.
know. And because it's like it's kind of this loss of trust in your body, which is another huge thing along this journey that, I have discovered because it was
Yes.
just it was just a vessel for me. My body was just the thing that I moved. My legs, got me from point A to point B. My hands picked things up, but and then they would be in pain, and I was just living through the pain,
Mm-hmm.
not thinking like I can somehow there's more to life than living like this. And then one day I woke up and said like, "Uh, this isn't this isn't the life that I want to live another 40 years. This
Yeah.
is absolute there has got to be something else. I refuse to accept that living in pain was the way that my life was going to end up."
Yeah. Yeah. And you decided to take action from that point, which
Mhm.
is where I see that shift
Yeah.
become life changing. And so let's kind of highlight where you are on your healing
Yeah.
journey because, it's something that we've talked about a lot when we're talking about it in your sessions, right? But
Mhm.
I find that it's not necessarily talked about enough outside of our universe here in Autoimmune Babe. And so there's this stage of healing where you're flaring and you're healing at the same time.
It's messy,
It's
right?
messy.
It
It's
is
a
so
messy
messy.
middle. And
But
you're like,
you could not have come into my life at a better moment. I will just say that too. Just how this played out, it will always be a milestone in my life when I look at back, you know what I mean? And we can
mm-hmm,
talk about that, but it is so messy, full
yeah,
of flares and symptoms and all these things these changes that I
mm-hmm.
didn't even know were possible, really.
Yes. Most people think they're like, oh, well, if I'm going to heal my autoimmune disease, it needs to
Right.
happen in 3 months. And don't get me wrong, you were experiencing some like real deal progress within like weeks, right? Like
100%.
energy, you spent last year traveling, right? Like
Mhm.
you were able to go on planes and feel good,
And
this
not walk off it with a sinus infection or a week of, pink eye or whatever random thing my immune system picks up. Yeah.
exactly. And so there was this element of healing.
Mhm.
And, there were symptoms that you came across. There were
Mhm.
symptoms that took longer to heal. And you're very much on this journey of healing alongside medication, right?
Mhm. Oh,
One thing that
totally.
I
Yep.
think that we celebrated at like pretty much a year was that you don't have hand pain anymore,
Right.
which is huge.
Right.
You do have swelling from time to time, but the fact that you can function when you're doing yoga and your hands and wrists are fine, these are the types of symptoms that you've actually been working for towards the year. One thing that I do want to highlight here is, when you're navigating the messy middle, this time and the season where you're
Mhm.
healing and flaring at the same time, what is one thing that you do regularly that allows you to feel like you again?
Mm.
What does that look like? Like bring us into the world of Megan, and on those days where you're like, "Ooh, I'm feeling a little bit more symptomatic today."
Mhm.
How do you support your health?
I think the biggest thing for me was letting go of, like, a lot of guilt and shame around when I need to take, like, a rest day, or it's just harder to get out of bed in the morning and I need a little more time because, like you said, this is not like, "Okay, we didn't heal in 3 months." Like, we're not just perfectly, we're not, our labs aren't 100%, we're not off meds. There's
Yeah.
still a lot happening, and along with that is the mental shift of, like, okay, so I now have this ability to give my body what it needs in terms of nourishment, whether it's food, supplements, movement, whatever. But when it's still not 100%, and I need to take some time to rest, or I have to cancel plans, just whatever out of the ordinary. I just don't have the guilt anymore. Pretend that I didn't nap. I used to just say, "No, I don't need a nap." I used to not tell people. I used to
Yeah.
be so embarrassed if I needed to rest during the day,
Mhm.
and that also comes with, like, the hustle culture that we've lived and we grew up in and all that stuff, but, I'm fully embracing the soft life, and having that heaviness, that guilt gone, evaporated, has let me also given, like, a release so that I can continue to move forward and address whatever the symptom that shows up actually is without spiraling either.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
not like this is a huge setback. Okay, this might be a few days or whatever it takes to get back to normal, but I actually know how to address these things instead of
Yes.
just sitting here on Google at 2 a.m. wondering what the heck is going on with my body.
Yeah. It's the tool set that
It
we
totally
can
is.
the
It
t-
totally is.
it's like you have those symptoms come up and you're like, okay, now I have evidence. I
Right.
know what tools to pull out, and you're not Googling online for hours. You're reaching for things that help you feel
Hmm.
better. And sometimes that's napping. Like I remember you were saying how you went to Disney, and you live in Florida, and
Hmm.
Lupus and Sun are not always a match made in heaven. And
we're
so,
we're mortal enemies,
yeah.
really. It's like,
Yeah,
ugh.
we have to be like really really careful with that for you.
Mhm,
And so that was one thing where you're like, okay, I took a nap after. And you're like, hey, this is my limit. I'm going to go relax, and it actually allowed you to enjoy the weekend to the fullest. I love my body enough to separate myself here. They're going to have,
mhm.
a good time. I'm going to go take a nap. I'll be back later and we're going to be good to go. Megan in 2024, a year ago.
Was just looked like I was walking on eggshells because I literally couldn't, like, move my knees and my ankles,
Yeah.
and was kind of just not the Megan that I know now. It
Yeah.
really it has been an amazing transformation, and I think one of the other things that I really learned was the all or nothing mentality, which I think a lot of us in the chronic illness community deal with as well. Like, kind
Yes.
of comes from, like, those support groups and stuff. Like, you're either really down about
Mhm.
yourself or you jump into this healing. Like, we are getting supplements and diets and things thrown at us by wellness experts all over social media, and you can't
Yeah.
escape it. And so when you get told, like, oh, take this supplement, it's going to heal you, um I'm always someone that starts something like that, and I've done so many of these diets and, all of the things. I've tried the supplements. I've spent hundreds of dollars and things. And when it's not working after a couple of weeks, I get frustrated. I get bored. I get overwhelmed. I'm exhausted. Nothing's working and I give up.
Yeah.
And I know that, and I dove in with you, and it was a slower process because not only did I have you in my corner coaching through that, but I had the control. And when I was realizing that we were getting these little wins, like how much better I was feeling just by learning about the different types of foods that work for me specifically and what
Mhm.
doesn't, you build on that foundation and
Yeah.
making like these nourishing foods or making the, movement and doing things that I wasn't able to do physically like a month prior felt so empowering. And that empowerment is part of the whole healing process that gives you this purpose in life again. And that's really where it started for me to like stepping out of my comfort zone. I realized I have more purpose in my day. I want to like
Mhm.
try out this meal that's anti inflammatory because it actually looks fun to kind of make instead of being overwhelmed about chopping all the vegetables because I'm going to be tired. I mean, it's some of the most simple tasks that went from no, I cannot do this. I'd rather just go to bed and like eat, crackers. Uh,
Yeah.
Now it's like, let's really dive into life. Again, let's live life.
Yeah.
Meaning, let's eat really good food. And whether, and then there's like we talk about the choices that we make when we eat. And again, that comes back to the empowerment
Yeah.
because if I decide, I live in Florida, I need hurricane snacks. And we all know hurricane snacks, there's no rules. And so I decide, let me just eat this chocolate cake because I'm stressing. And I know that I might not feel great the next day. But right now, this is what we're going to do because I
Yeah.
know and I have the power to make those decisions.
This is so good. Again, because this is, there's so much empowerment in the decisions that you make when it comes to eating. And the all or nothing mentality would be like, oh, you're not committed to your health if you have a
Right.
piece of cake, right?
Right.
And we as autoimmune warriors, we live in a constant state of fight or flight. Our life is virtually becomes a survival mode. So
Mm-hmm.
the all or nothing mentality we think is the most effective, productive way forward, but it actually is quite literally sabotaging any progress that you're making. And I know that you
Exactly.
came in very early on. One thing I loved was you were all in from the get-go. When we did the challenge together, you
Mm-hmm.
came to the challenge, you asked questions, right? You really embodied commitment. I could
Mm-hmm.
tell that, and not surprising, you were on a healing journey. You were like, hey, I care about my health. This is something that I prioritize. And within a few weeks of working together in Road to Remission, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, hey, this is the all or nothing mentality, and we're going to break that. And you were like, hold on, you're like an overachiever. So
Right.
this
It's hard to like
element,
dial it back.
dial
Yeah.
it back. You're like, but wait, that's going to sacrifice your commitment to your health. And I'm like, actually, no, you're going to be more present and intentional with your body once
Mm-hmm.
you throw this away. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what really invited you into embracing the messy middle, where
Right.
you're currently at right now, where there's so much triumph, there's so much healing, and there's still medication
Yeah.
needed, right?
Absolutely.
This is what truly sets you and your body up for success, both emotionally and physically. And yes, that also means that you can make empowering decisions with your food. The reality is that we have to look at it the same way we look at like tabloids. Social media
Yeah.
is becoming a,
Mm-hmm.
a tabloid stream. And so naturally the algorithm is going to, as a content creator, the algorithm is going to favor, for lack of better terms, irritating, fear-mongering hooks, right? And so you have these people who they're wellness influencers, and they're like, I went on carnivore, I'm no longer on medication.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
oh, don't eat this food or you're increasing your risk for cancer. Like,
Right.
these are the same headlines that are used on BuzzFeed and
Mm-hmm.
yahoo.com. And, and so we have to be mindful that we're not being, we're being entertained, but we're also being persuaded for the sake of views, for the
Yep.
sake of
Yeah.
viewership. And
Right.
so all because this wellness influencer is claiming that they're not on medication anymore does not mean that they don't need medication.
Absolutely.
It
There,
just
you
means that
can't
they're not
trust it.
taking exactly.
It's a
And so
highlight reel.
it's
I
a
mean,
highlight reel, and it's one that is so short-sighted. And so if we're actually looking for something that you mentioned was that you're like, I'm living life again. I'm living life. And living life for me is eating good food. And sometimes that
mm-hmm.
includes chocolate cake because I like chocolate cake. And if you're on your period, like, you're able to make that empowered
Mm-hmm.
decision, not only because you've focused on your like reconnecting with your body, you also know how that cake is going to affect your symptoms, right? And that's something that we talk about. We'll have to talk about that on another day because, oh my
Yes.
gosh, that is a whole, like, getting really in tune with data collection and getting patterns. And when we're talking
mm-hmm.
about food intolerance and, like, how do you actually navigate that with something like
That is a
lupus?
whole new,
Oh,
that's a whole, yeah, because the
yeah,
medicine, food is medicine aspect is huge, but it is only a piece of it
ex-
because it leads to so many bigger moments. Like, you can't really have that without the emotional shift either. And you won't.
exactly.
And I
You
didn't know
won't.
that though.
Mm-hmm.
That was the other thing. It was like halfway through this journey, I'm still thinking, okay, it's all about the food. Let's focus on the food and the supplement. But wait, all these other things are happening. I was
Mm-hmm.
hospitalized with pneumonia halfway through this.
Mm-hmm.
And if it had been a year prior,
Yeah.
I would have been so down. I mean, just a completely different response. But
Mm-hmm.
in this particular case, because of the work I had already done leading up to it, and because my relationship with my body was totally different,
Yeah.
I was just in there able to understanding what my symptoms were. First of all, I knew this was an infection. I knew this was not,
Yeah.
a massive lupus related thing. And
That in itself, the fact that you knew that it wasn't lupus related.
mhm,
And that was a doozy. Feel free to follow Megan to just
yeah,
hear. She was on the up and up and literally got taken out
hmm
by pneumonia. And, like, it started this whole journey
and
of
it's still
real, it's
happening.
still
Really,
happening.
I'm living it
Yeah.
right now. I mean, my lungs are not recovered, so
Yeah.
if I
And
sound out of breath, that's in
that's,
case.
yeah, no, but but there is so much to be said about the way that you approached it. You're like,
hmm
okay, I built a foundation and now we're just shifting focus. How do I say this? If you were not on a healing journey, those are the types of things that you would give up. You would just give up. You would say, you know what? You're right. This is my life forever. And that leads to despair. There is absolutely an emotional element here. And we've been talking about this for, pretty much the entire episode. Is like, there is an emotional element to autoimmune disease. And we have to consider that. We
And it's not
have,
talked about enough. It
it's
is
not
not.
talked about
It's
enough.
really
And
missing. Yeah.
oh, 100%. And you were recovering your relationship with your body. So when you got exposed to something that, that quite literally, threw a wrench in the plans,
hmm
right? You continued to restore this relationship with your body. I was so in awe of how You were like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's next. You got you were like, you were positive for TB. I mean, there
Right.
truly, it was like roadblock after roadblock. And it was something that, you know, obviously with lupus, we want to be mindful of your lungs. And so that, you know, that was something that it was
Hmm.
very concerning.
Yeah.
And the way that you addressed it, you're like, I still have a good relationship with my body. I know
Right.
what I need to do next. Like, I know that this is just a season. When, gosh,
Hmm.
there have been flares that I've
Hmm.
experienced that we talked about it, that literally they're like, this is going to be my life for the rest of my life. And
Like, is this how I'm going to wake up every day?
yes,
With just a
yes.
giant pill case and a weighted blanket and a heating pad that's going to be my calling card.
Exactly. And that's going to
Hmm.
be the legacy that I leave. And it's
Right.
like, no. And so the fact that you had this wrench thrown in and you were still resilient and you're still on this journey and you have so much triumph and so many wins and you're still very much on your journey, which,
Yeah.
you know, one thing that I really want to highlight here, and gosh, this is not the first time that it's happened, that a client of mine has like really embraced being an inspiration to others.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think it's such a beautiful thing because I really do think it comes from the place of being really inspired by your own healing and your own body's
Yeah.
ability, that you want to share good, hopeful, motivating
Like,
content with other people. And
hmm.
so this is something that you've actually been embracing, and navigating. Gosh, the last time we talked, you were like applying for different advocacy positions and coaching
Hmm.
positions and like
Hmm.
life coaching. And this is such a beautiful thing. And I really want to highlight like what changed. You're still healing alongside medication. And yet
Absolutely.
you're like, know that there needs to be more messaging out there that gives lupus warriors hope. And so tell me a little bit more about this like realization that you came to and like why you feel compelled to share your story about soft living and like the
Hmm.
impact of that. And yeah,
I
share a
mean,
little bit more.
honestly, a lot of it is because I wanted someone like me back when I was going through it. I wish I had, where I am now to go and say, hey, like, without the toxic positivity stuff, like, oh, just
Yes.
push through, because that was a very large part of my life
Mm-hmm.
early on, because I was going through a lot of major milestones, life milestones, while navigating the illness. I
Mm-hmm.
was graduating high school, I was going to college, I was getting my first job. I didn't know how to communicate these things with people along the way. Yeah, dating and just like talking about making new friends and explaining, if I'm flaky, this is why. And it sounded so ridiculous when I would say it out loud. I didn't know how to communicate it. And I think that now that I've lived so much of it and I've been able to say, like, again, it comes back to the empowerment, because I can make these decisions and I can look at it from a different point of view than where I was a year ago. And I just want to be able to tell someone, like, hey, like, what you're feeling right now might really suck. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to have great days and you're going to have really crappy days. And then you're going to have the medium. But when you find this, like, moment in your healing journey where you are, um I guess, the little things that would bother you, like your energy crash or something, or the fact that you're waking up in pain every day, those things are great. That when you're not waking up in pain every day and you're like, wow, that's incredible, okay. But I just want to be able to give someone some purpose, to say, hey, not only is it possible, not to say like, "Oh, I did it, so you can do it," because I don't like that. I don't like that phrase.
Mm-hmm.
If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
That
But
puts
like
people in a box,
honestly
you know?
though, but like I know it's not proof in itself, right? Because
Right.
I feel like as autoimmune warriors,
Mhm.
right? You don't want to be being like, "Oh, you're lucky. You're one of the lucky few." And you're like, "No, no, no.
Right.
I've been through the freaking pits." But
Right.
I totally get it. You want to share hope and being like, hey, like I see you and I'm
Realistic
going,
hope,
but
you know,
yes.
like it's
Yeah.
it's it's the like you always talk about when you get people starting working when you start to work with people and they want the healing and it's kind of the instant gratification of healing and it's because we're people that we feel so terrible. We want to feel better fast. We're tired of it. And I,
Yeah.
even through this last year, I've had pains and stuff that's come up where I have had meltdowns. You know, I'm in bed and I'm like, I am so sick of being in pain. Like, I am so sick of this. And it's going to happen. And I think I just want to be that source where someone can just kind of vent it out, get it
Mhm.
off their
Safe
chest, and be
space.
someone that just gets it, where I'm like, I'm sitting with you. I'm not going to tell you that tomorrow is going to be a better day or even 2 days. It might not. But if it's not, that doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. It's just right now, this is just this little chapter in your life. And we can kind of like you talk about like let's take the data and see what's going on and then sort of respond to that
Yeah.
because I've had from being in pain all the time, that's one thing to navigate. Hospitalizations, it's another thing to navigate. Latent TB and being on brutal antibiotics for 6 months. I mean, all of these things and now like going from doctor appointment to doctor appointment and trying to keep a schedule of that while also having a full-time job and just living a life and trying to be a little bit social and be a good partner. I haven't spiraled. I have been able to maintain this level of optimism that and it's not fake. Like I people have said to me like, "Are you for like how do you keep it so positive?" And I really don't have the answer. I think by nature I'm a little bit more of an optimistic person.
Mhm.
But being able to just adapt to how whatever is thrown at me is the power that I did not have prior to embarking on this journey.
Yeah.
It was just like more slogging through, responding knee jerk reaction, like, oh, I have another doctor's appointment. Oh, they're going to put me on something else. Nothing's going to work. Now I'm going into these doctor's appointments. Sometimes I have like 2 or 3 a day,
Mhm.
and it's so overwhelming. But yet I'm doing it and I'm not feeling like the exhaustion beat down. I'm like, okay, we have more information and I can go into that exam room with some suggestions of my own with my symptoms tracked because I don't feel as overwhelmed anymore.
Yeah.
And I can tell them without a doubt, this is what I'm doing at home. This is how I'm taking care of myself. So I am doing this part and I want to get, you on the same page with me to do this part. I'm willing to
Mhm.
take these meds, but we need to be able to communicate and I need you to get on board with that. And I have this power in that
Mhm.
room to be able to say these things.
Yes.
Hmm.
That's it's being able to advocate for yourself in partnership with your provider and knowing how to do that. My gosh, we could have a whole other episode about
Yes.
that. The element of a safe space that's positive is so undervalued when it comes to
Yeah.
autoimmune health journeys. Again, because it's all or nothing,
Yes.
right? So it's like, okay, if I'm on a healing journey and I still have an autoimmune disease and I'm still taking medication, I'm obviously not doing something right. That's not necessarily the case. And
Right.
there needs to be strategy, right? You can't expect like something that I told you more times than I can count. Like these wins, these breakthroughs don't happen by accident. They're happening with intention and strategy and data,
Hmm.
right? We're very
Right.
big on data. We're not like
Right.
manifesting our health to change. However, there is a mindset element here that is absolutely something that we stand on. And so if
Hmm.
manifesting is taking into consideration evidence, then like let's manifest away. right?
Go for it. Put it
Go
on the vision board. Let's
put
do
it on
it. Yeah.
exactly. But there has to be this strategy behind it. And
Hmm.
you are such a beautiful example about what, like, truly the power of strategy and the power of
Hmm.
intentionality and the power of unlearning the all or nothing
Hmm.
mentality, right?
There's a
And
lot of unlearning in this whole journey, by the way, which is probably another
uh,
episode as well. But
it is. We're
anyway.
gonna have a whole chapter. Just like bring in the novelist. It's really and that's just, that's just a representation of how deep we go. Because I
Right.
feel like over the last, year, we have like truly lived so many chapters together. It feels longer than a year because of how much you have evolved. Like truly it is such a beautiful thing. And the fact that you are now providing space only a year in, by the
Yes.
way, which is
Yes.
incredibly impressive. You're like, I know that I can provide space for people who are in the same struggles that I was a year ago because of
Hmm.
how much you changed in 1 year is truly it's one of the biggest honors to witness.
Yeah.
And two, I'm just so proud and excited for you because this is just the beginning. And,
Right. Yeah.
a lot of people are like, oh, 6 months in remission, let's go. But like, it took me 2.5 years. It took me a
Hmm.
hot dang minute.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until that 12-month mark that really things started to become more profound, especially within the doctor's office. And one thing that I wish I did earlier on was advocate for myself in partnership. And not a lot of people understand when we're talking about advocacy in this world where everyone wants to be right about medical treatment and everyone has their opinions about medical things.
I love how
People,
you put that, by the way.
yeah,
Everyone wants to be right about medical treatment. That is so accurate. That is so
100%.
true. Yeah.
Everyone wants to be right, right?
Hmm.
Everyone wants to be the smartest and most knowledgeable in the room.
Everyone wants to be that healer. They want to be the one that
The
fixed you.
one that fixes you, the one that knows it all, the one that, is
Hmm.
polarizing and correct. And when we bring that energy into our doctor's appointments and we're met with skepticism, so often we're like, oh, I'm offended. Oh, I'm not believed. When in reality, we're just being argumentative.
Mm.
Right?
Hmm.
And we're
Hmm.
going into a professional space being argumentative. And so when we are hit with skepticism, it's quite literally miscommunication. People think that they're advocating for themselves when they're actually miscommunicating. And what
Then it
you
gets defensive.
and then it's
And,
defensive.
and
And
then
then
you're just never on the same page.
nope. And then you leave that doctor's office feeling like you got no support, no guidance, no clarity. And guess who loses? You do. Because you're
Exactly.
the one who needs guidance.
Hmm.
And so you just described beautifully. This was not supposed to be a part of the podcast, but I have to highlight this because you just described beautifully what advocacy is in a doctor setting, which
Hmm.
is having an understanding of your symptoms, being able to communicate those symptoms and the ones that are diagnosis specific, which you didn't highlight, but I want to mention that. Like
Sure. Right. Yep.
you know what symptoms through the symptom clarity that you have, you
Hmm.
know what symptoms are actually connected to lupus now and what symptoms
Hmm.
are not. And so you're bringing this new data and knowledge into your doctor's appointments and you're
Hmm.
saying, I am taking these supplements. They are helping me. I am doing these routines. They are helping me in this way. And hey, so now that I've given you all this data, now give me your expertise on what these next steps are with a shared goal. And that is how you leave a doctor's office. You start healing alongside medication and you feel supported by the medical professionals in your corner.
Exactly. And your mindset is shifted about the medical community as well.
Yes.
Even just
Yes.
one doctor that you get that listens to you
Mm-hmm.
in the will change how you react going forward to with all your medical team. It
100%.
because you finally feel validated and heard and seen, and you might shift how you go into the next appointment.
If
Yep.
we're stuck in a survival mode, right, and we don't feel like our doctors are in our corner or doctors are actually holding us back, I see this a lot where
Hmm.
doctors will be like, no supplements, at all. And it's like, okay, that's an opportunity for you to advocate for yourself, not
Mhm.
argue, advocate. And a great question to ask here is, what about supplements is a concern for you?
It's right. Like,
What about
what's
you?
behind that?
What's
Mhm.
behind that? Tell me more. And you want to look for specific versus generalized. If they're generalizing the supplement, it's usually there's a bias there that you can ask your questions through. Are there specific supplements in mind that I should be concerned
Right.
about? This is where you're advocating for yourself,
Mhm.
but you're also asking your doctor specific questions. And if there is a bias,
Identify that.
you
You
can
have this
identify it
a different viewpoint from that exam table. And
100%.
even with going back to, like, bringing the symptoms and understanding the symptoms that you're gonna bring to these doctors, when I someone like me, I've got, a whole medical team right now, and I'm going from
Mhm.
specialist to specialist. I can even get even more granular with my symptoms, so I can bring my lung related, respiratory related stuff at the forefront to my pulmonologist, and then the
Yep.
secondary, rheumatology related, just as a background for him. I'm not going in there like, here, just, put the puzzle together. It's it's an incredible feeling because
Mhm.
just to add to that, even with medication,
Mhm.
because even I 2 or 3 years ago, I had a different rheumatologist, and
Mhm.
I was just going with the flow. I had to fight. I begged him to put me on Benlysta because he was so conventional, and he kept me on steroids, and I was miserable, and I
Mhm.
begged him, and it was the first time I'd stepped out of, like, real traditional lupus medication, and now I'm with a new rheumatologist, and, I had tried methotrexate in the fall, and I knew immediately I had horrible reactions to it, and I could tell those symptoms, those were side effects from the medication. That wasn't lupus.
Yeah.
And I was able to go to my next appointment with her and say, "This is not going well for me." She said, "Okay." I told her what was going on. "All right,
Yep.
stop it. Let's try something else."
Yep.
And that cycle also. So being able to track the symptoms versus the side effects is another empowering moment. It's a progression in your healing journey, because then the
100%.
doctor has that data, because, they're gonna medicate.
Mhm.
You have to accept that, right? And
Yes.
they're gonna probably try to medicate you, so knowing what works for you and keeping track of that and understanding how your body responds when it's responding is it's such a huge part of advocacy.
Oh my gosh, it's a huge part. That contributes to the emotional roller coaster that so many autoimmune warriors experience. And
Yeah.
so, with that being said, I have one more question for you.
Mhm.
Um, so to the warrior who's listening, she's been battling for decades. She feels burnt out. She's afraid to even hope because that feels risky in itself. What would you tell them? And what would you share with them right now about fighting for better health and how, road to remission really played a part in that for you?
Like, first, I would say, I get it. I see you, wherever you are, I hear you. I know exactly how you feel. And there I don't want to sound cliched when I say there is hope out there, but it truly is. There is there's a light that you can find to learn about your body, and kind of recalibrate your relationship with your body. It's not just about healing the actual symptoms that you're experiencing, but it's getting that trust in your body and building a relationship with yourself again. And if you are feeling like everything that you have tried, and that you've tried it all and nothing is working, there are so many other opportunities, there are so many other ways to get through this, to cut through the junk that you see, whether it's on social media and someone's telling you that they healed themselves with, the autoimmune protocol diet, and you think that that's your only opportunity. It's not. The problem is we compare ourselves to everyone that we see in a different stage in their life. So to someone that might have been in my shoes or where I was a year ago, you're not going to get to my level in maybe a month, but you're going to start to feel differently. You're going to start to you're going to experience this freedom if you focus enough on it. You're going to realize how magical it is and how much power you really do have when you can take control and understand what your body's trying to tell you and then properly react to that. So, I would say you're strong because you're living this every single day. And well, we know that this isn't an easy journey because you're living with a debilitating disease, whatever it is. If you're listening to this, you're stuck somewhere, you're unhappy, you know that there's more for you in life. You know that there is. I knew that there was more for me. I just didn't know what it was. And I'm still trying to figure that out. All is not lost just because you were diagnosed with some sort of connective tissue, autoimmune, chronic illness. It's just learning how to listen to your body, what it's telling you, and how to make adjustments to meet it where it is. You can make so many beautiful things out of what you're about to experience because you're
So
worth it.
good.
You're worth investing in yourself. And it might seem overwhelming from the beginning because anytime, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'm someone that gets very easily overwhelmed, especially when it comes to like planning meals and things like that. And some of the small things, like I actually enjoy coming up with like what anti-inflammatory dinner I'm going to throw together. And even the thought
Mhm.
of chopping vegetables a year ago was like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. I don't have the energy for this. I just want cereal for dinner. And even within a month of working with you, I was like, energy, let's go. Let's make this delicious, whatever. And so I guess to bring it all back down in conclusion,
Mhm.
it's it's a journey that I think when I started working with you, I didn't know where it was gonna go. Like I say, I want the sparkle. I want myself back, but I didn't know who that person was because it had been so long. So you will find so many new opportunities. You're gonna meet new people in your life that love you for all of this. They're gonna learn from you because of what you share with them from in your journey, even if they don't have any sort of autoimmune disease. I'm told by friends all the time, I think you're such a badass. I'm so proud of you. I would brush that off in the past and say, whatever. And now I'm like, you know what? I am actually. Thank
Mhm.
you. I'm like, I am a autoimmune veteran. I'm a little bit of an autoimmune guru. So come talk to me, vent away, share your story, and I'm here for you.
Love
So
it. So
yeah,
good. So, so good. For anyone who wants to connect with you, follow you on
yes.
social media, or you are providing quite literally a safe space for women
hmm
with connective tissue disease.
hmm
Where can people find you on social media?
I'm on TikTok and I'm on Instagram, and my handle is Talk Lupus to Meg.
You're such a great resource. I just absolutely adore you. And
I
thank
adore
you.
you.
And thank you so much for just sharing your journey with us today.
It's such a good place to be. It feels, like I'm standing in the sun
Yeah.
instead of like the rain cloud.
Yeah. And it's just the beginning, my friend.
Yeah.
You're just getting started, and I'm
hmm
so excited to see what this summer holds for you and what this next chapter holds for you. Thank you so
Mm,
much.
thank you.
I hope that this podcast was helpful for you. Make sure that if you haven't already, since this is a new podcast when it comes to YouTube, make sure if you haven't already to subscribe to this channel. We release podcasts every Tuesday. And if you know someone who has a connective tissue condition like scleroderma, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and more, feel free to share this episode with them. The truth is that hope is not very common when it comes to these types of diagnoses. and you never know how profound and powerful this message could be to someone who deeply, deeply needs it. I'll see you next time. Bye.